Yeah. Now I will tell you the difference between teaching and training. Great lot of people think that training is about talking, explaining something to the other person. Like physics is taught, commerce is taught, finance is taught, mathematics is taught. Okay, that is only about knowing. Okay, knowing something that is not a part of the being. Physics, chemistry, mathematics, etc. are not an integral part of the flesh, blood, bone structure, that organic human entity. But training is making that organic entity to act, to do some action in the environment. Or, for instance, teaching somebody the theory of music, sitting there, 20 students can learn the theory of music and write an examination and get A plus. But to do the doing of that music, which of course in the case of music only a so-called talented child can do, but that is different. That is training. Training is the teacher is singing Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni and making the child or the listeners do that. You cannot talk, see, Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Da Ni Sa. Now you sing in ascending order. That they cannot do. That is teaching. Now training, the master is demonstrating it. One. Secondly, everything you cannot demonstrate. Secondly, training involves making Ira do or guiding her to do the doing of whatever knowing she has or whatever knowing you are giving to her. So making somebody do is training, and making somebody know, that is teaching. Get the point? Yeah. So teach the basic dimensions of human entity, or let us say any entity, a bird or a butterfly. So at the level of human entity, there is a whole lot of knowing, and all knowings cannot be translated into doing. For example, if you know the principles of chemistry, principles of finance, that is the background to knowing only. That knowing is required to do a little bit of doing of accounting or making the balance sheet and things like that, okay? But that much of doing is possible for a person because of the huge background of knowing about numbers and its properties. Get the difference between teaching and training? You got the difference between knowing and doing? And don't you realize that doing cannot be done by just knowing? It is done by the being. And by repeated doing, the being becomes evolved. For example, you know the frets of a guitar or the strings of a violin, the master shows you. And you go on learning a little bit of theories of musical notations and all that. Then you start doing on the violin or the guitar or the veena. By doing, then the being learns it. Rather the hands learn the guitar and the veena and the violin. So similarly, now that is all about the knowing, doing, being dimension. First we discuss about the components. Components meaning the structural part. That is expression, response, behavior, ways of action, ways of relating with things and entities and people and situations and contexts and environment, and then the wonder of language, the greatest competency of language. And they are the 5 or 6 components of the human entity or any other entity, and knowing, doing, being are the 3 dimensions or three engine powers. Okay, so this much will be clear. Educate yourself and let her be your first trainee as well as the first student. The student is learning knowing and the trainee is doing the doing, so that her being becomes evolved. And we are also Jivi or a creature like every other bird or butterfly or whatever. All those millions of things. Okay? We are kind of, let us say, I use the word we are walking trees. Trees are also alive, but that is rooted. That is the way of the tree. Birds are flying. That's the way of the birds. Okay. So the way of this bird, the bird that is listening to me through the other end of the phone, and the bird talking here by this end of the phone are no way fundamentally different. Now, coming to our point, that nature process which is operating in every cell, that means this planet of our body sustained by trillion bricks or cells, okay, and every cell of that palace or that planet of the body is maintained, is functional by the flow of that magnificent electric current or the energy flow which is flowing through every blade of grass in your courtyard. So that is what is actually the so-called God is everywhere. The word God is very misleading. The so-called God, when the Rishis say God is everywhere, that everywhere is this. Everywhere meaning every minutest subatomic particle. You know, for example, we can utilize certain knowledges for helping our grasp, helping our communion, helping the tuning of the body of our guitar to the music of the universe. That is, for example, particle physics. Subatomic particle physicists clearly declare out of the so-called experiments that the subatomic particle of the air, of the wood, of the iron hinges of the door, of the nail of your body, of your flesh, of the stainless steel, of the fire, of the water, of the air, and they are all identical. When some hundreds of subatomic particles form structured together to form a so-called molecule, then there is a difference from one molecule to the other. But at the root level, subatomic particle level, everything is identical. That's what our ancient rishis also said, Aham Brahmasmi. Or in one drop of ഒരു തുള്ളി ജലത്തിൽ ബ്രഹ്മാണ്ടത്തിനെ കാണിച്ചു തരാവുന്ന, that is there, of course. This is by way I am increasing the level of contents or the level of themes of our communication. So I just used this opportunity to do that. So coming back to the point,